next for Lee?
What was the question?
What's next for Lee?
Oh, what's next for me? I'm so glad you asked.
I want to know what's in your
So I know. I love what I do. I love what I do. And I love telling people about what I do. So I'm excited about what I've found is people are starting their businesses in their 50s. So I started my business at the age of 51. And it was a blessing that I did it. It happened to me. I didn't choose it.
Thank you for coming back to another episode of Networking with Nick. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. My guest today is a certified business coach providing business help, business advice, and business coaching and mentoring services to small and medium business. Starting her coaching business in 2015 after the age of 50, inspired at a young age by her parents with the entrepreneurial spirit as they made the risky move to the big city of Wichita, Kansas to open their first business. My guests will help you deliver the results you desire using proven tools, methodologies, and systems tested and perfected over tens of thousands of businesses worldwide over more than 2 decades. Coach Lee will hold you accountable to your results, and just like a sports coach, push you to the performance of optimal levels. My coach, your action coach, Coach Lee Gray.
Hi, Nick.
Hello. It's so good to have you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for this. One of the things, so we talk about in your intro, your parents moving.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know, do you remember those conversations that they were having? How old were you? And what was was there tension in the house during that time, making that decision? And what ultimately became of it?
You know, I'm glad you asked about there being tension. At the age of 10, all I saw was my parents' vision. That's all I saw. So we're moving to the big city. We're going to make a fortune. We know what we're going to do. It's going to be great. My dad's passion was about music, and this was a music store that we came to the city to open. And he did. He was in it for a good 10 years in the business, and I don't know if they ever made enough money to do anything more than pay the bills. That's what I saw in my mind. So I just saw us running a business. I went there on the weekends to help. I learned how to count change. I waited on customers and things like that. But I remember the vision that my dad shared. We're going to the big city and we're going to make our fortune. And what's interesting about that is, just like any other business owner, the vision has to be you have to be so passionate about it that's what people hear, and then they come with you. So even at the age of 10, I'm like all in on this business, all in that I wanted to do it.
All right. Where did you guys come from moving to Wichita in the big city? If Wichita's the big city, what's the small town?
It was a name called Osawatomie, a town called Osawatomie, Kansas, and it's kind of close to Kansas City. It's a little tiny town. It's really pretty much off the grid now because they built a highway around it at one point, but that's where.
Really? So, why did your parents want to leave there? I'm assuming they're not originally from there. What was their story to get from there? And you know what? We're gonna skedaddle.
Well, my dad was raised on his was the first generation off the farm. His very poor family, one of 7. My mother lived on a farm, was raised on a farm. They met in high school in a town. Both of them lived right outside of Osawatomie. My dad was in the military the first couple of years they were married. He got drafted. They came back, and Dad got a job as a purchasing agent, but he was a musician and a great musician. My dad was one of the best musicians ever.
Interesting.
He could play by ear. He also learned to read music, and so that was his passion. They had a band on the weekend and during the week. So my dad, that's what it was, is come to Wichita to open a music store to provide instruments for people. He ended up making money giving lessons, but that was really a limiting kind of thing because he couldn't grow the business doing that.
Yeah, it's only him doing the
thing.
Right,
he did have more, eventually, teachers. I also learned, I went to my high school reunion, and my 30-year reunion, I think it was, 30 or 25, I don't remember which one. And all these people came up to me and said, hey, I remember your dad. I took guitar lessons from your dad. My dad taught so many kids from my high school here in Wichita that are still playing today or have a really fond memory of that. So he touched a lot of people.
That's good.
So passionate about that, yeah.
So there's a lot of teaching that came from him in that. Is that kind of where a lot of you wanting to be a coach came from early on?
Yeah,
that
probably.
Teaching aspect of him wanting to nurture those coming up?
I think too, and also I love to see people get that blinding flash of the obvious when they discover something. So when I can see that, and then when I can help them with that, it's like, oh,
that's so
the best.
good.
Yeah.
So, all right, your dad is very musically inclined.
Mhm.
Did you inherit said
You know, I
skill?
did, but
right.
I also started liking boys more than music, which is a real crime because so anybody that's listening to
Oopsies.
this video needs to or watching this video needs to if someone is playing an instrument to take it all the way through because you can play that instrument till the day you die. You
Yeah.
might not be able to do everything else you do till the day you die, but you can play
So
your
true.
instrument. I can still play the songs I learned when I was a kid, but that's it.
Right. What
But
was
I
the
can
instrument?
sing.
Oh? So are we talking car karaoke in the shower?
We
Yeah,
are.
yeah. That's the best kind of
It's the
karaoke
best.
where no one else
Yeah.
can hear you belch it from the top of your
I'll
lungs.
do it. I'll do karaoke in public though.
Man, I don't know if I could do it enough of the small little glasses of juice in it. Yeah,
you
sure,
could.
a couple of them.
Absolutely. Most people do it that way.
That's the best way to
It
do
is.
it.
It is.
Was that their only business they ever opened up? Was the music shop?
It was the only business that they opened, sort of. Dad ended up doing that for about 10 years, and then he took a job as a salesperson, which is basically a salesperson is a business owner getting a commission check working for somebody else, basically.
Pretty much.
And he did that, and he was very successful with that, and then went sideways. I think he was like me and most other business owners that they don't want to work for the biggest ass of all themselves, or they didn't want to work for somebody, so they worked for the biggest ass, which is themselves.
Absolutely.
So he started another business buying and selling giant machines like CNCs, lathes, mills, and things like that.
Okay.
And that's what he did for the remainder of his life. And he had and produced a great living from that.
I was wondering because I know I have an engineering background. I come from machining in the aerospace industry. I mean, you talking like a nice Makino or a Haas, like we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes, and what he did was he found people who wanted to sell them, and then he found buyers, and he was the broker for them.
Oh, that's a good
move. It was awesome.
move.
Yeah, it was really great, and people called him from all over, and he would make arrangements to have it delivered, and so entrepreneurial from the absolute bottom of his heart, entrepreneurial.
Where did he get it from?
I think I don't know. All of my uncles and aunts are entrepreneurial, so that it just came from.
So it's something in the water.
I think it came from there wasn't enough food to eat in his family, and so everybody had to figure it out.
Hunger will make you figure something out real quick.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what it was.
And I mean, in that time frame, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
And today, hunger might be a different thing other than real food hunger, but there's got to be a hunger of some kind to help you want to not feel that way again. Right. And I think that's what drives business owners.
What do you think your dad would have been able to do with the tools we have today? You know what I mean? Like that guy's a natural hustler, right?
I have said if dad had a coach and a formal education, I would say, well, I don't know. Not necessarily a formal education, but maybe some education, some learning, because I really do believe if you want to be an owner, you have to learn and learn and learn and learn and grow. I think it would have been phenomenal through the roof. I tell people the story that if my dad had a coach, I wouldn't be coaching today. I'd be flying off in the family plane somewhere because that's how successful he would have been with a coach.
Man, just to think of, me and my friend were talking about this the other day. I have a little sister. She's 7 years younger than me. Just the small 7 years of time gap, technology has jumped that far, right? So thinking on a 50-year scale, a 60-year scale, where like we're talking phone, that newspaper, that's about as far as communicating goes, and or whatever. Now we have this instant, like to give someone that ability and let them go nuts. I would,
Yeah, and
just think about it.
Dad embraced technology. He was on instant messenger and stuff early on, back when you had to dial
early
in.
adopter to internet.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
And we chatted online with voice, which was like it broke up and it was like
yeah.
But we were doing that, because he ended up moving to Missouri. I lived here, and we did. He embraced the technology. He would have totally been on top of it.
Just a little before his time.
Yeah.
But I mean, so he touched so many people, helping them learn a skill.
Right.
How, you know what I mean? Like, yes, he could have done that different, but like the impact of that alone is already major enough when you have a world of like, it's difficult to leave kindness behind anyway.
Yeah.
So, to have already that impact is already amazing. But man, to wish if he would have had just the technology of his time. What about, was your mother as in tune with entrepreneur spirit?
Mom was the COO, so he was the visionary and he was the dreamer, and she was the let's get her doneer.
She's to figure out to make it happen.
Yeah, and she went wherever his dreams took them, and he couldn't have done it without her probably. So I really believe in the scheme of things. She was the COO, he was the CEO. She was the operating officer of the business. He made things happen, and she took care of it.
So I want to ask you really quick, for anyone who doesn't know what those two roles are when it comes to COO and CEO, because those are two different distinct roles, and people just may not know what that looks like.
I agree.
Can you?
Yeah. So CEO, the chief executive officer, and usually that's either president. You can call yourself the president and CEO, whatever. So it's the executive making executive decisions, sort of 30,000, not 30,000 feet, but 30,000 and 10,000 feet and 1,000 feet. And then the COO is with you when you're making those decisions and then execute. So we're gonna open a music store in Wichita, Kansas, and like to have 100 students in 90 days. The dreamer's like, I don't know how we're gonna do that. The COO, chief operating officer, who operates the back end, they figure it out because they don't have the dream, but they know how to do it. And the other person doesn't know how to do it, but they have the dream. It's a perfect fit. And you have to have that in business. It may not be a hired position, but like if you're the CEO of your company, you better have a COO of some kind helping you operate stuff. Because on your own, you're too visionary.
Right. And then as a solo, like you can't also do everything. Eventually you do need someone who can do some of the actions, because you do have to, like you said, 1,000, 10,000, 30,000. Yeah. If you are making those decisions at that type of level and you're looking that far in the future, there's gonna be even more conversations in between to get those things done, and that's just how it looks. And like it's so important to know what those roles are, especially if you bring someone on to help you, or if you're this person who doesn't know this, like you need to know what you don't know so you can have some help.
Right. So we say that entrepreneurs and business owners suffer from BS, and that's blind spots. I don't know what I don't know. I mean, like you don't know that you have that piece of artichoke in your teeth or whatever. That's a blind spot for you. So you need somebody to help you that you don't. But, right, by the way. But anyway, yeah, the blind spots are what we have to have help with. And that's why you have to have somebody in the organization that's not a CEO. Two CEOs will kill each other and the business won't survive.
That makes sense.
Does like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, one's an engineer and one's a dreamer. Right? They were perfect together. They hated each other a lot of the time, but together making something happen was perfect. So if you're Steve Jobs, who's your Steve Wozniak? And if you're Steve Wozniak, who's your Steve Jobs?
Okay, so what are some ways that you can identify which one you are and then figure out what you need to find?
Well, when you have an idea, do you execute, or do you have an idea, tell everybody about it, and then go on to the next idea? That'd be a CEO, most likely. And then if you're the person that's like, well, let's get it done, and then we'll talk about something else. So if you're the person in high school that planned and got your final in during the whole semester, you probably are a COO. If you figured out, I'll figure it out when the time comes, you're probably more of a visionary. I never had that question, so I made up that answer, but I think it's a good answer.
That's a good answer. I'll take it.
I think so.
I mean, you got to figure that out. I think it's a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness. Knowing where your strengths are and knowing where you don't have your strengths is huge. Yeah. Being able to know where, like, I am dyslexic. I suck at spelling. Everything I use.
Well, I noticed that. I did.
So all of this, though, is voice to text. And then I'll go through and make sure the punctuation's done. And I make sure that when it's done, Google's like, hey, this is all good. Here you go. So I like me typing, it doesn't I can't. It just, but now with the technology and finding the workaround, like being able to do that type of stuff, that's what I've always been able to figure out. But knowing what you suck at and just being able to figure out a workaround and then hire for it, there you go.
The other thing too, Nick, is there are assessments that are available. Right. Talk about technology. There are AI influenced assessments now that can, based on the questions that you answer, can tell you, are you better at this or are you better at that? And most people know when they get the results, they're like, yeah, I knew that. But it really helps to get the reinforcement from an assessment. So a professional can help with that. And there's some free stuff online that, people watching the podcast want to go, you think I'm a COO or CEO? There's probably some assessments. Do a chat GPT on an assessment that would help you determine that, and you'll find it.
do chat GPT.
Do
We'll get back in that in
All
just
right.
a second
Okay.
because I do have a question for that. I do want to know, what was your first business? Your first business?
I had a all I did was do trimming and edging. That was it. That was all I did because that was the tools that I had. So my best
Yard
friend,
trimming and edging?
Mhm.
Oh, so landscape.
Mhm.
No way.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're
But
cutting some
because
grass.
nobody would do it. I didn't have a lawnmower. All I did was the edging and the trimming because we just had scissors, these long things, and that's what we did.
For reference, what year is this?
75, 72, 73, 74.
Okay.
Yeah. And I babysat a lot. I didn't have a business. I didn't have people working for me, but I had people calling me, and I could say, well, the Smiths want me for 50 cents an hour. Would you do it for 75?
Ooh.
And so I was able to,
All right, little
Yep.
price gouging
Little
here and
bit.
there. All right, like
Yep.
bid and war. I like that. So as that progressed, what was the official first one for Lee?
it was so I worked for a company called the Bureau of National Affairs, which is a wonderful, wonderful company, no longer in existence. It was an employee-owned company.
Okay.
And they had, I did have a house cleaning business before that, but this one's pretty official because it was an LLC.
Hey, there you
Yeah,
go. Let's look at it. First
yeah.
LLC.
So this company I worked for provided laws and regulations to attorneys, accountants, environmental managers, safety managers, and so
Okay.
all these laws and regulations change. And so I sold the books kept these people informed. Well, the books constantly we always sent people out new pages to the books, like the tax law changes. So they would have to get these, and they would open the book and they would update these pages and take them out. And I would call on people to try to sell them something new. And there would be stacks of these things that hadn't been updated. And finally, my husband and I said, you know what? I could make a fortune offering to update these services for them.
Right.
And I said, would you pay to have those updated? Are you kidding me? I'd pay anything. So we had the largest law firm in Kansas as a client. We were updating the books in their library.
Okay.
We had several accounting firms that we did it for, and a couple of environmental companies. And we had high school students and college students that took these pages out and put the pages in, and they worked about 3 hours when they worked 2 or 3 nights a week. It's laborious, awful work.
Oh, yeah,
but
it's
so
not fun.
critical because if you're an attorney looking up the tax code for something, it's got to be the right tax code. It can't be in the wrong page.
Yes.
Well, all that ended with CD-ROMs. There's a thing called CD-ROM, and it's a disc. It's round like this. Anyway, so when that happened, they didn't need these, but we had the business and made a lot of money for about 3 years. It was called Update Inc.
Interesting.
Update Inc.
That's a really good idea. Technology is the thing that kind of nipped that one on. Unfortunately, CD-ROM. We used. You remember the AOL discs that you could get at like the Best Buy?
Yes.
We were dumb kids. We just hugged those at each other.
Oh, I never did
It
that.
was silly. That was so silly. They would just give them out though. You
I
could just
know.
grab them at the Ben full. You could just grab as.
It was
these
so
2-hour
worth it
discs.
for them to do that, right? To give them away. If somebody signed up for AOL and was a lifetime member of AOL, right? And that's
There's
what that,
AOL still accounts
yes,
live today.
there are.
That's-
Brad Sugars, I shouldn't say this, has an AOL account.
American Online.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's throwing it back right there a little bit. I like that.
Me too.
All right. Every entrepreneur endures failures along the path. What are some of the significant failures in your journey that have helped get you here today?
You asked me, you gave me these questions in advance, and I'm like, what failures? I think the biggest failure was people love you, and so they don't want you to fail, and so they help you figure out why you should not be in business.
Man, okay. Let's go in on that really quick. That's very interesting. They don't want you to go because they love you.
That's correct.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I mean, you tell somebody when I told my family that some of the people in my family that I was starting a business, I mean, they were like, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding? That's awful. Look, you can make so much money. How much are you going to have in retirement? You could lose everything." And they did it with love. And even, I mean, Nick, you've been in business for a while. How many people push you along or promote you or lift you up? It's just not a lift you up thing.
Close individuals, none. Maybe one person.
No.
Close. So I love this. There's a saying like a friend or a customer will become a friend faster than a friend will become a customer. You learn that really quick because you do try, like window cleaning. Friends, family, hey, you guys got windows, help me out here. It was pulling teeth. Go knock on a stranger's door. Oh, hey, how you doing? My name's so-and-so. I'm trying to grow my business. Oh, absolutely. Come into my house, person I don't know.
Correct.
And it's like those people who want to be your friend, they just want you to stay there with you. They don't really
Oh,
want you
no,
to
no, no.
grow.
No, it's an interesting phenomenon. So I'm going to say that's the number one thing. And if I said to anybody else, what's the number one thing that's going to keep you out of business? It's your friends and
Damn.
your family.
Ouch.
It is. So you got to move up, move on.
Yeah.
And I don't share much about my business with my family. They don't. When I tell them I work 60 hours a week, or I'm stressed out about something, or I'm excited about something, or I've won a big award, I tell my social media, but I don't tell my friends and my family. Isn't that awful?
That sucks because you don't get to share it with them. One of the struggles
Mhm.
I've had is trying to explain what, like those things that you just had, like you work X amount of hours, you're stressed about one particular thing or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. It's
Right.
hard for them to get it. They don't, and you wanna bash their head into the wall sometimes. Like, listen to me. Like, you're not seeing the future, you're not seeing the vision, whatever it may be, and it's just, I think it's because they're comfortable
Mhm.
and they see you out of your comfort zone, and they're afraid of that.
Yep. Fear, fear, fear. It's all fear. It's all around fear and them feeling the fear. So if they, articulate it and then you absorb it, it can become you.
Right. Fear. How do you get rid of fear?
Well, you face it anyway.
Absolutely.
That's what you have to do. And then find people who also don't see the fear, right?
Right. Surround yourself with
Mhm.
like-minded individuals.
Maybe not like-minded, but people who even think outside your.
Ooh.
Because like-minded people, we tend to draw ourselves to people who are like us, and so it's got to be people who maybe even have a contrary, not one that says you shouldn't do it, but
Right.
maybe other kinds of, well, have you thought about this or have you thought about that? I don't know. Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's some good food for thought.
Good.
All right. As we're approaching a decade of experience as a business coach, what are some of the silly fads you've seen come and go over the years?
Well,
The get rich quick scheme.
well,
coaches.
there's always the multi-level marketing things, and believe me,
MLAs?
I know that there are
Yeah.
some really good ones. There are, but there are way more that are not. You know something, Nick, you won't like this,
Ooh.
but I would say thinking that social media can do your work for you. There's been plenty of businesses have thought that social media could do the work for the business. It's still, it's a partner in business. It's a partner. So if you're relying on it exclusively, I say that was a fad. Oh, I can just run my business on a website, and you think that happens, but it doesn't. I mean,
Right.
you look at a business, you think, oh, they're just on social media and they get all their business that way. It isn't that way because it has to go beyond that. So I would say that. Let's see. Another one would be thinking that technology could do everything in the business. I can automate my company. I can have somebody answer the phone. I can hire. I can do everything overseas. And I'm not saying that it can't do some things overseas, but it isn't everything. So I would say thinking you can outsource everything, because at the end of the day, what's funny is the new trend is back to customer service and placing a phone call instead of having everything be automated.
Really? Okay. So this is a great time to bring back up AI. AI is huge everywhere. A lot of people either hate it, love it, some indifferent, whichever. It can help with a lot of things. Will it take over necessarily? Probably not. Not to the extent. There's always got to be someone who asks it or tells it to do something, right? Are there things that you found that it is super great to have, like in your expertise? Like it just,
I use it for everything. I use it all day long. I mean, I just use ChatGPT. I certainly don't use it as I could. And I don't even have the scope of understanding of what AI can do.
Right.
But I'm okay with it. And I think that we have to embrace AI as a source, as a resource, as a competitor, potentially, and depending on your industry. I mean, could someone look up how can I grow my business and double down my revenue in 6 months, and ask ChatGPT that with some really, really good prompts and some refined prompts and get a really good answer? Abso-flippin-lutely you can.
Right.
Will AI hold you accountable to the actions that you have to do, and hold your hand when you're crying, and walk you through the challenges and then redirect you when it needs to shift? No. But can it give you a starting point for something? Absolutely. And I would tell
Mhm.
my clients, go do ChatGPT, come up with some ideas, and then let's execute them.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Because at the end of the day, AI is not going to take care of it, not going to replace a parent, a police officer, a social media expert, a digital marketer. It's just not, but it's going to be a great tool.
Yes.
That's how I see it.
Absolutely. And it's the tool to just use to get the job done.
Uh-huh.
No more, no less.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, if we can shift mindsets into just utilizing it as the resource that it can be, because typing something into ChatGPT, like it comes back fast. Like it is so instant. And tweaking it a little bit, you may need to, but it's relatively
Pretty
accurate to what
on,
you're looking
especially
for.
since it gets to know you.
Right, as it starts
Right.
to learn who you
Uh-huh.
are and what you're asking
Yep.
for and those things like that. Is ChatGPT the only AI that you use?
I use other AI that's integrated in my CRM and AI that's in Facebook. I had AI answer some of my Facebook responses, and that didn't. I mean, it accidentally happened. So I would use AI for other things, but I guess what I would really like, what I want though, is if it is AI, if it's an AI picture, if it's an AI voice, if it's an AI song or lyric or something like that, I'd like to know that. That's one thing that I'd love to see some disclosure if I'm using AI.
Right, and I think that's going to become, it better become
I hope
a
so.
very big conversation that we have. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead and use it, create, have
Yeah.
fun, have at it, but like there does need to be some sort of verification system.
Yep.
I don't know what that looks like. I'm not that smart. I'm not that
I don't know
guy.
either. I don't know either.
That's going to be someone way smarter than me is going to figure that one out. But
Yeah.
that is definitely like we need to have that conversation now, and we need to continue like I have that conversation already with my son. Technology. He's 9. He understands this iPad and everything in here that's electronic way better than
Oh,
me.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so I know you play online with people that it's Roblox. It's okay, so let's have that conversation. What is like, you're talking to a real person, right? Sometimes that is another person on the other side. Like you need to be careful of who you're talking to and what you tell that
How
person.
interesting.
It's the context that you put up.
Is, yeah.
And that's kind of where that's and that's where we go with that. Now the Uno reversal card. Give me one or two tried and true methods that have held strong in your time as a business coach that will always be there.
I think having someone do something or create a plan based on their passion and their dreams.
Oh,
I know it sounds kind of fluffy, but if somebody comes in and says, "Man, I want to make a lot of money and I want to drive a nice car and I want to," okay, but what's underneath that? What's driving all of those things? So I guess in business coaching, getting to what, like I had a couple in here today that are starting a business. They're going to be very successful, and man, they are so clear on what's underlying and what they need. And so I guess in coaching, it is going to be under passion and vision clarity.
yeah.
Tried and true. I cannot coach you. I can coach you a little bit, but when we get into real things, if you don't have that, then we're not going to go very far. We're going to just do tactical things, and that's okay. Some people just want that.
Right.
But if you want to make a big shift in life and in business, you got to have that vision and passion.
So, what are some good ways to make sure that the coach that you're working with is right for you? Right? Like, I feel like that is a two-way street. You need to make sure that the person that you are being coached by is like a good connection for you.
Yeah, I think you need to interview them, and they need to interview you.
Ooh,
Yeah. So when I meet a prospect, I tell them we're going to meet for the first 90 minutes together. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, tell you a little bit about me. I'd like to and have you tell yourself something about me, about yourself to me, and by the end of this 90 minutes, you're going to know if I'm somebody you can talk to on a pretty regular basis and tell me things. And I'll know if you're right for me too. And we also get to have an out. I can fire you, you can fire me. And if a coach wants you to sign a 1-year agreement or something like that, I would double think. I would think it through.
Rethink that one.
I would. I really would.
So should there be any reason to really sign that type of contract with a coach?
I think you should sign an intent to work for 12 months.
I like that.
With an out.
Okay.
Because you need 12 months or even 24 months to grow significantly. But you shouldn't have to be stuck paying for it if you're not getting the results.
Yeah.
You got to put the work in too. So
that's fair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's next for Lee?
What was the question?
What's next for Lee?
Oh, what's next for me? I'm so glad you asked.
I want to know what's in your.
So I know. I love what I do. I love what I love what I do, and I love telling people about what I do. So I'm excited about what I've found is people are starting their businesses in their 50s. So I started my business at the age of 51, and it was a blessing that I did it. It happened to me. I didn't choose it. So it happened to me, but I had to figure out something for my life. But what I'm finding is I have a lot of people who are like, oh man, I wish I had done something like that. I wish I had started my own business. So I'm writing a book about how to have a successful business in your 50s. Now, can anybody read that book and get something from it? Absolutely. But the idea is that, when you come to the table as a business owner in your 50s, you don't take crap from people. You know how to handle things. You've read every contract under the sun, especially if you've worked in any kind of business environment. And you're not going to go into business if you don't have some of that background. So I'm excited about helping some people in their 50s achieve their dreams and find their passion.
That's amazing.
Especially since we're living to be 90. I mean, most people, if you're in good health and you take care of yourself and you're excited about life, you can live a good physical, spiritual life until your 80s, 85, 90. So why not work a business till your 70s or 70, retire at 80?
So crazy.
Isn't it? Do you want to sit for 25 years? I don't.
No, I would go crazy. I'd go stir crazy.
Yeah.
Do you ever see a point where you're going to retire? There's always going to be a little something
that
you do, right?
Yeah, always something.
Time back a little bit, right?
Hopefully, when I'm 90, they say, hey, let's get that lady that sold that book and helped all those people start a business in their 50s, and she's now 90. What's she doing in her 90s? Let's come have her speak to our AARP group. So, I think,
that's so funny.
I don't know. Retire, what does retirement mean? Does it mean staying home and not going anywhere? No, I'll never do that. And I won't just travel either. I'll always have to be making a move forward, right?
I like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way. They don't ever quit.
They don't. If they quit, I feel like they just, I don't know, what do you think makes some of them quit? Because I've ran into some entrepreneurs and business owners here locally who just, they're happy. They're content. They've got their lake homes. They can go out on the boat, go fishing. The kids are off to college and stuff. They've kind of just lost that little bit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I feel for them. And it's really, it's saddening. Can you help people like that?
I don't know. If they gave all they had to give, maybe they're done.
That's
okay.
A good point.
And that's okay too. But I suspect, most people and some of the business owners I know that are retiring, who are at the lake now and riding around on their yacht, they're really not retired. They're very philanthropic. They advise their family with a company that took over their business. They're very involved in their church.
Right.
They're doing entrepreneurial things in other environments.
In a spirit of giving.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's where I want my retirement to
be.
In a spirit of giving like that. That's so.
And most of the entrepreneurs in this town, even, you have no idea how many of them do just that. And that's their job. That's their job. But you wouldn't know it. It will blow your mind. There are so many wonderful, amazing people in Wichita, where we live, Wichita, Kansas, that give and give and give, and that's what they do. That's their new vision, passion.
Giving, the law of equal exchange states that whatever you give, you will receive in return.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you receive, you will have to give.
Yeah.
One or the other.
That's right.
Better figure it out.
Uh-huh.
So which one do you want to be a part of?
Yeah. So look for my book. It'll be out in May of 2024.
Okay, so we're working on it. It's all in the works right now.
In the works and happening, and I'm excited about it, and I hope to help a lot of people with it. And gosh, if I could get somebody in their 50s to go, you know what, I'm going to do this, I would be happy.
So you're in the middle of writing this book. From step one to where you are now, going into the process, is it much different compared to where you're at now in the mindset of writing the book?
No, but now I actually hired a coach to help me write my book, to hold me accountable.
Okay.
So I walk the walk when it comes to coaching.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's
so I have
good.
a coach, and she's helping me. She's reviewing my outlines and holding me to, are you going to get chapter 10 done? And you said you were going to have a flow chart in that chapter. Is it done? So I'm doing that. So I guess now I'm doing the real work,
Yeah,
and
just
it's not just the dream.
the button pushing.
Right.
Someone has to either push the
Button
button
the
or write the
chair
word.
and pushing the buttons.
Yep,
2 things you have to do to write a book.
that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, I like asking everyone this question.
Okay.
This is probably my favorite question so far. You wake up in the morning, you walk into the bathroom, you look in the mirror, it is 18-year-old self Lee standing in that mirror. You guys lock eyes. You have the ability to give her advice. You can't give her all the answers. What do you tell that woman before she starts her journey?
Don't doubt yourself.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
a good
do
one.
not doubt yourself, because whatever you do is fixable. And I would say don't doubt yourself, just push through.
That's really good.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Lee.
You're
You've
welcome.
been an
Thank
amazing
you, Nick.
guest.
Keep doing this. You're doing good.
I have been having so much fun with it. Just sitting
Cool.
here, like, I mean, obviously we have the questions stuff to go back and forth, but it's like, all right, cool. You went in on like your dad. Like, I get to ask all these different questions that you just get to poll on, and you just get to learn about people.
Yeah.
And I think networking is really great. Like your net worth will be your network. Like knowing
So
those
true,
people,
yeah.
and it's
What podcast have you been on?
none yet.
Oh, you need to get your on some.
I know. Hey, get me on a couple.
Who's that?
I don't know. Whoever I'm talking to.
Oh, okay. I thought this was done.
No, not yet.
Oh,
It's all right. It's fine.
yeah. I
This
would
could be
say
B-roll.
you need to be on a podcast.
I'm
on
getting
a 10 podcast.
Yeah, I'm absolutely getting there. So we have some
Mhm.
people lined up in the works. I absolutely want to get into it. Hold on. Thank you again for coming by. This is Networking with Nick. Lee Gray, an amazing guest today.
Stop it.
I know. Okay, she's amazing. She's amazing. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, I guess. I guess that's what the kids say nowadays. Other than that, we will be back for the next episode soon. Later.
Take care.